Did you really just click on this video? You have too much time on your hands. Hey, I'm Gary. I am the director of the Rocky Mountain Ukulele Orchestra, and every single day during the week, we have a weekly lesson on how to play ukulele instrumentally. I am going to wait till 6 or 7 more minutes, so if you're finding this video as a recording, you can definitely fast forward up to that spot. Before we start anything, right now I'm going to hook up this link on the website, and I am going to welcome everyone in for their daily lesson. And so feel free, if you're watching the replay of this, to definitely fast forward. But if you don't know at all what you're looking at, you should go to jollyrogerukulele.com, and all things will be revealed to you. That's where we keep all of our resources and the weekly schedule and all of the plans, and help you learn why you've been playing ukulele wrong all these years and you didn't even know it. And so that's what this is all about. Let me go make sure that this set up on the page properly. Then we'll adjust some sound items here, and we will get started playing ukulele here in about 6-7 minutes. And let me make sure that this is working. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I know. I need to turn this guy to off. And Lanny says he's in for the day. Sandy is in for the day. Lynn. Hey, Lynn. And oh my goodness, guess who didn't shave? I was going to shave before I came online today. Oh well. I'm nothing to look at under the best of circumstances, so you guys are fine. Let's see. Lighting, and kind of can tell that there's a shop back there. All right. All right, so we got the front page working properly. What are we playing today, guys? Key of G Arpeggio and All I Ask of You. It's going to be work. Key of G, they're not too bad. The All I Ask of You is going to be a little rough. I think I've been strangling my ukulele. I'm trying not to apply enough pressure to get a note. I'm trying to not and just apply enough. Yeah, so Lynn, I think in the beginning, this is a great conversation while people are loading in here today. Let's talk about that for just a bit. When you first start, it almost feels like you are strangling that ukulele, like you are really cramping down on it, right? You've got to really, 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 really squeeze to not have that sound come out. And I would say that what I'm supposed to say from reading all about how to teach this stuff, I don't read ukulele stuff, though, that nobody knows how to teach that correctly. I'm the one who knows how to teach that. The classical guitarist is who you read when you're trying to figure out how should I learn to play an instrument like this. And what they say is don't teach your students to push a lot of pressure on there. The least amount of pressure is the right amount of pressure. And that is absolutely true. So we try not to just cram down like we're strangling the darn thing. The problem is in the beginning, you just don't have the muscle strength. And of course, we've talked about this a lot. This muscle right here, there's actually 3 of them that run your thumb. And all 3 of those have to build up strength. So in the beginning, while you may or may not be strangling your ukulele, it sure feels like you are. And so what you want to do is just be patient with yourself, let that muscle strength build up, and then absolutely start trying to back off on the pressure so that you, like you say, I'm just trying to put on just enough to get a note out of it. And I do think that just enough to get a note out of it changes over time. So just enough when you're first starting is a whole lot. When as you develop your strength and you develop your playing skills and all this, just enough will feel like a lot less pressure than you were before. You may be playing exactly the same amount of pressure. It's just you're stronger now, and so hopefully that's starting to come around. So it's a fascinating subject. We tell people don't have a ton of tension in your body. Try to keep it nice and soft and confident, and everything. Tension is bad. No, teach all that stuff. But when it comes down to your left hand, man, in the beginning, you gotta squeeze like nobody's business. And so, yeah, I get it. And I do like the fact that you're figuring that out and like, hey, I've been strangling this doggone thing. I'm going to start backing off on that a little bit. And that's absolutely what you want to do. So that I know when I'm playing these days, if I, as you have gathered, a lot of our material has a ton of barcodes in it, and even me, after all these years, I'll be playing, hour and a half, and all of a sudden, I just feel that sort of tiredness in my hand, and it's because of the complicated chord shapes and stuff that we have to do with this style of music, and it's going to always require you to put on quite a bit of pressure, but you'll be more able to do that the longer you play. So, good thoughts on that, Evelyn. Welcome. Oh, it's sunny down in Cuenca today. Nice, very nice. Mike stopped by the parking lot earlier and he got himself a new Martin ukulele, so he's ready to rock hard. Yep, that's a good job, Mike. Phyllis is in from Richmond Hills, Ontario. And I'm going to Google that one of these days, Phyllis, and figure out if you are living in an awesome place or not. I have this picture of it just being idyllic with little picket fences. And, anytime you see Richmond Hills, you think that's going to be a pretty nice neighborhood. Let's see. We hate to judge neighborhoods, but there's a few here in Denver you'd rather not live in. And I used to I had a friend, I got in so much trouble for saying this. One of our main north-south streets is called Federal, and Federal is quite an interesting street. As you drive up and down it in different places, there's some kind of, and a friend of mine bought a house up north, and it was right off of Federal. And I said, man, if you ever have the word Federal in your directions to your house, you've made a bad mistake somewhere. And she got super mad at me. Turns out she made a ton of money on that house before she moved out of it. But these days, I live not very far from Colfax in Denver, which is one of those streets you don't want in your directions. So we always have people come in up 6th Avenue and they think they're going someplace fancier. Let's see. So, Linda in from Littleton. Littleton's a beautiful place. Elizabeth made it home. Elizabeth stopped by earlier today to sell Mike his ukulele, and then she had to hightail it back home. She lives a pretty legitimate drive from my studio here. So, things have been happening all morning. Very exciting. Renee is in. Aloha from Lakewood. Lakewood is known for its Hawaiian spirit. So, good job, Renee. Hey, Lindy in from Centennial. Let's see. We've already talked about Centennial. Centennial is where you go to die. We used to say that about Arvada because there's a little suburb north of here called Arvada, and there's no roads that go into it, and there's no roads that come out of it. You just that's just really complicated how you have to get into Arvada, and so we used to say that Arvada is a good place to die because you go up there, you get in there, and you're just not coming back out. It's perfectly fine up there. Why would you go anywhere else? And so you just live up there till you die. That's Arvada. Let's see. Hey, Chris, how are you? Terry, helping increase the Colorado representation here. I know, right, Terry? We're going to get run over by all these international people. That's okay. We'll be fine. Linda's in from Pueblo. Pueblo is that way, and Pueblo has had a checkered past. So it used to be a coal town and steel manufacturer, and then all that got shut down. And so then they were nothing for a while. Then they were a meth lab for a while. And now I think it's a pretty nice place to live. Last time I drove through there, it looked like they'd cleaned it up a bunch. So imagine Linda wouldn't live someplace. Well, she may be manufacturing meth. I don't know what Linda does. But anyway, glad she's here. Glad you're here, Linda. She's in a campground, heading for a campground in Wyoming where the wind comes sweeping down. That's Oklahoma. Yeah, that's different than Wyoming. Well, good job, Linda. Glad you're trying to tune in. Hope everybody else in your car is ready for some ornery ukulele today. Lynn, is anyone else having trouble logging into Jolly Roger? Lynn, I got to reset your password. I got your email earlier. I just had a chance to briefly check at it, and nobody else has been sending me notes about it, so it must be something to do with your login, so I will reset it here after class, okay? Sorry about that, Lynn. I'll get you logged in this afternoon. Valerie in from Chicago, another town with a bit of a checkered past. Carol in from the mountains. Jerry in from... over there. Jerry, I got your email, and Not forgot about you. I am going to get back with you. I had one other really complicated repair. Yours is next on the bench. How about that? Jacqueline is in. Brandon is in. Lindy's here. Yeah. So, all right. So there we go. That's what we know. I want to get started. What the heck? You guys that matter are here, and the rest of them will wander in as eventually. We're going to play key of G major as our first thing today. Again, if you are a newer player, and we get a lot of people who log in that don't actually log into YouTube and then say hi in the chat room. So what I know of the 15 or 20 of you that usually stop in and say hi, we always have another dozen or sometimes 24 players up here in the widget that are just hanging out, and I never know who's who, right? So I just keep repeating the same stuff, assuming some of those people are newer, some of those people are experts. I'm assuming Jake Shimabukuro is one of these guys, and he's just making sure I don't give away all of his secrets. And so, as you guys know, sometimes I'm talking above you, sometimes I'm talking below you, sometimes I'm talking right at you. And I am hoping when we're going over basics, those of you that are decent players, you're saying, you know what? I could probably review these basics again, right? And more importantly, and we're going to talk about this on Monday night in Global Institute. If you know everything, if you know if you know what I'm about to say before I say it, that's the time you should be thinking about, it's time for me to start sharing this with other people. And so by reviewing the basics, I give you my exact intro class every single month, just started over and over and over. I think we're on the third pass through it at this point. Hopefully you're just gathering up all of that stuff. You can go to your local community center and say, hey, I want to start teaching a ukulele class here. And don't teach them somewhere over the rainbow badly. Teach them for Jacques really well. And so that's why when I'm repeating all of this stuff over and over and over again, I'm hoping, one, it's getting those of you guys that need it to get going and get started and moving up to your next level. And then I'm also hoping that it's those of you guys that do better than that, giving you a chance to review and think about how you would teach this exact same class. I want more people playing instrumental ukulele and a whole lot less posting videos of them doing Over the Rainbow. That's what I want. Okay, who cares what I want? Let's talk about what you want. We're going to play key of G major. It's from my Jumping Fleet Arpeggio book. It's the best book on arpeggios for ukulele ever written. I might be biased, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And there are a few other arpeggio books out there. They're generally speaking meant to be a little bit easier than my book. And so you can go spend some money on them. I've seen parts of a couple of them, and I think you're fine with my free one. I think you're going to do just fine. Let's see. Who else logged in before we get started? Where did I leave off? Patty is here. Can't wait to hear you sing. You cannot wait to hear me sing all I ask of you. I already decided I am not singing this. This is not going to go well at all. All right. Vicky in from Bozeman. Sonoma, Linda number 3 from Sonoma, California is here. Kat's in from Texarkana. Yeah, I've been around since March, but I'm no expert. Yes, you are. All you guys are experts. I had a big, long talk about that from Carol's question the other day. This is it. This is it. There's nothing harder than this is the top level. Okay. I've given you jazz on ukulele, fingerstyle. That's it. There's nothing else. I gave you Beethoven. Okay. You're an expert. Let's see. But I think Pablo moved up from meth to cannabis production. Oh, well, then that's fine. Yeah. Meth, bad. Cannabis, good. That's how Colorado thinks. Fran, I learned so much from reviewing the basics this time. By the way, Fran, had a quick. Hey, Joyce, welcome in. Sleep deprived, but ready to take it. Ready to rock. Ready to take. You're ready to take a nap. Ready to rock. How come we love spelling rock like that? I absolutely adore it. R-A-W-K. I just love spelling it that way. And it's very addictive. Once you start, you're not going to be able to stop. Fran, I talked about you yesterday, and I do want to follow up with that a little bit today when we get to the next piece of music about standard notation. You had mentioned I'm pretty sure it was you, Fran, that mentioned on Monday night, hey, man, I'm learning. I like standard notation. I like it. It helps me out. And I think I might sometimes send the message that it's not important, and it's very important. And so I want to clarify a little bit. Sometimes I talk and stuff comes out of my face, and then I realize later I'm like, don't think that's what I meant at all. All right, Diane, welcome in. Key of G. We've got this chord. Dun, dun, dun. If you are playing ukulele and this chord is no big deal for you, that's a big deal. Okay, this chord is an extremely big deal. And when you first start playing ukulele, if this chord is no longer the bane of your existence, this chord should be your bane of your existence, right? You know about that one. This chord, if this chord's happening on for you, you are about 3/4 of the way there. Okay, this is a pretty hard chord in the beginning, and once you're like, I don't worry about G chord anymore, you're well on the way to getting where you need to go. Next chord after that's E minor. I always finger it, index, middle, ring, like that. Okay, but do know, if you want to, do know that this G chord can be just modified with your pinky to get the same chord. Okay. So when you're coming out of a G and you see an E minor there, sometimes it's easier just to put your pinky on there. For me, you will notice I always go to E minor shape. And I think I've told you guys, I know I've told you guys, this was the chord that gave me fits. I don't know why. To this day, when I see it coming up, a little part of my soul dies, right? This chord for me was my hard one. This was not a problem for me. I was able to do B flat, but for some reason E minor, I just couldn't get it on in time. And I think that's when I figured out, hey, I've got to chase my index finger and then the other fingers will behave. Okay. And so that's your E minor. When you drop down to C, we tend to do more work than we need to do, right? Because we're going to go to C next and we tend to go here. But pay attention when you see this. You can also just drop down and be in second position and get your C chord. There's no rule against that, okay? Next chord is a D chord. For a lot of you guys, this is always a bit of a fight to get all your fingers into that second fret. Index on top, middle on there, and ring there. If you're having a hard time fitting it in, it's because you got too small of a ukulele. Or the other possibility is you got super thick fingers, right? And the one modification I do allow that's wrong that I get people in with really thick fingers, right? And so I will let them do a index finger on 3, middle finger on top, and ring finger on the bottom. That's one of those. Just you get a little bit more. It's a little easier to fit all 3 in if you got real thick fingers. Okay, I call them sausage fingers. I think it's politically incorrect, but some of you got them, right? And it's not just men. It's sometimes women have sausage fingers, and getting them to all fit in there is a bit of a challenge. So if they're just not going to fit, try putting your index finger in the middle and then wrap your middle and ring finger around it. Okay, so that's a modification that I let slide. I think it's fine. Let me peek through here. Down at measure 13. Okay, measure 13. You were hoping B flat would just go away if you just ignored it, right? You were hoping that shape would go away. At measure 13, we're going to take that B flat shape, but we're going to do it on the 3rd fret. Okay, it becomes a C. Okay, and then we're also going to measure 14. We're just going to take it and slide it right up to 50. Okay, and I'll tell a little story on my friend Lanny. He's over here. He logged in earlier. When I first started teaching Lanny, put this on, just pretty as could be. Then he would take it off, slide up, and put it back on. Okay, and I said, Lanny, what are you doing? Just go. And he's like, oh yeah, I should do that. Right? And so sometimes something that obvious loses when we're studying, and that's why if you have somebody qualified to just check you once in a while, it's really important. And I do think from time to time, it might not be a bad idea to drop me an email and say, hey, Gary, can we have a Zoom lesson and I want to play? Have 2 or 3 things ready to play and just let me watch you play. Make sure you're not doing anything insane. Sometimes we make our slides harder for no reason whatsoever. All right, so that's page 1 of that. That's all of our chords. And then on page 2, I don't think anything else exciting happens. Okay. Oh, well, you got a D7 at the very end there, right? Instead of a D chord, you have a D7. Okay. All right. So those are our chords. In this one, instead of on the key of C, we started off with everything on the bottom 3 strings. On this one, we're going to start with everything on the top 3 strings. And where this one gets fascinating, I think, is that sometimes you're here, and sometimes you're here. Okay, and this again is that progression of getting where you have complete control over your right hand, where there's nothing going to be thrown at you that you haven't already done a billion times in your life, and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, now it's this way, right? This way, okay. And there aren't any rules about this, but in this case, because it's an etude, and I want you to play it the way it's written, we do sort of have rules, right? I don't want you strumming this. I don't want you grabbing just the necessary notes and not grabbing the full chord. I want all of that stuff to be happening that way. Okay. All right. Now, D chord. That alternate fingering also allows easier transition to G. This alternate, she's saying, this alternate D chord, she thinks makes it easier to get to here. Okay. I will tell her that, Laurel, I like that you're optimistic about it. I don't agree with you, right? But it's possible that if you're on this D chord and you find that easier to get to, possibly, right? It's probably definitely easier to go from this D chord down to G7, okay? So you're typically going to do that though when you have a D chord, but you might. Okay, let's play this. Remember, right hand, just you're going to grab the full chord, every single measure, no matter what, and then you're going to pluck. Okay, everything is plucked on page 1. When we get to page 2, at measure 31, we'll do some strums through measure 38, and then we're going to go back to plucking. This is another skill that I find when we first start is really, really hard to go from plucking to strumming and back to plucking. Okay, I find that extremely challenging. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. But I've been playing a while, and I still find it a little bit difficult. Okay, so in other words, the challenge of getting here, going to this, and then trying to get back onto the correct strings is going to be something that you're going to have to work on. I did watch one time. I watched Andreas Segovia, one of the legendary classical guitar players, and he's plucking along. And to strum, he doesn't do this. He takes this index finger and goes down like that, and then goes back. So even he is sort of experimenting with different ways and different sounds to get out of a strum prior to going back to this. Now, in classical guitar, you don't do very much strumming, but it shows up just enough to aggravate you. And it was fascinating to watch one of the great guitarists of all time struggling with the same exact issues. So we're all in it together, right? Just at different levels. All right, let's see. Oh, the cue's in the house. Let's get going. All right, from the top. It's supposed to be 120. We're going to play it quite a bit slower than that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 6. 8. Change strings. Pinky. D chord. Pinky. D chord. Fancy C. Slide up to D. Back to E minor. D chord. To the top of the page. Change strings. Pinky. page 2. Strum. Pluck. Hold it until this stops ringing, about there. Then let that go. Hopefully that's going well. The nice part about playing with me is that when you blow it, whatever, move on to the next measure. I hope that's what you're doing. Hopefully, if you're blowing it, you're not just, I'll start over later on, right? Don't be that Don't be that guy or that girl or that whatever, that rabbit. When you blow it, just jump up a couple measures, jump right back in. That's a more important musical skill than anything else we teach. I'm telling you, the ability to just ignore mistakes and move on and jump back in is the most important musical, other than keeping your thumb in the right spot. I believe that's the most important musical skill you can develop. And it's very hard to develop unless you play with other people or you play with a metronome, and you're not going to play with a metronome because it destroys the fun of music. So hopefully all of that pieces and parts are coming together for you. Some plucking on some strings, some plucking on some different strings, some tossing in some mean old bar chords right in the middle of that. If you went there and went 2, 3, 4, done, 2, 3, 4, that's 100% okay, as long as you're just understanding what you're supposed to do, the tonality when you're playing kind of fast with me, and you can't stop. You just got to keep going. We don't worry so much about tonality at that point. Hopefully your ukulele is just hitting every single note perfectly and beautifully, and you're just like, oh yeah, I wish Gary would play faster because this is boring me. Right? What we're really just working on is surviving, okay? Getting through the piece, whatever happens. You played your version of it, and then you go back and this afternoon you're like, gosh, I really messed up this one section. Go work on that section just a little bit. Etudes are not necessarily meant to be mastered. Etudes are meant to be helpful to teach you the skills that you can then take to real music and put that to work for you down the road. And so the nice part about my Arpeggio book is it's going to give you every single skill. There's no skill that I'm aware of that doesn't show up in that book repeatedly in all the different keys and all the different shapes, all this stuff. And I think you would do yourself, do yourself well to warm up with an etude every single day. Just sit down, open up my etude book, knock out one or two of them, close the book, open up your good sheet music, right? The good stuff, and start working on that. So that's what I hope the arpeggios are doing for you, is just giving you a place to warm up, and something complicated, something that's maybe either at or above your ability just a little bit. And these the chord shapes, except for those two bar chords there in 13 and 14, the chord shapes are all chord shapes that we are doing every single day, that you do every single day. And so putting them together with the right hand skills makes you a much better player and a much more capable musician. And so there you go. That's my sales pitch for my free book. Okay. Use it. Okay. Let's see. A couple other people wondering, Vicky, I find changing from plucking to strumming challenging as well. Glad you do too. Yeah. Here's what happens, right? When you buy a ukulele, you learn da 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 da. You don't learn that one. They teach you G7 because it's easier, right? Da 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 da. That's it, right? 90% of ukulele players, they are done. They don't need to know anything else. That's perfectly fine. They're set up for the rest of their life. And then I come along and I say, oh, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to finger pick. And all of a sudden, by magic, with one word, finger picking, I think it's one word, you are elevated to this next level of crazy, right? And then all of a sudden we spend all of this time picking, and then you got to go back. And then if some song comes along and you're like, okay, now you got to go back and do this, or I got to do this, and you're like, ugh, can't do it. It's challenging, right? To get those two completely different styles together as one. And if you watch the great players, okay, go watch James Hill, go watch Jake Shimabukuro. That's probably the complete list of great players, but go watch them. They're very much trying to combine all of those skills into one piece, and probably on every single piece of music that they come to, they're going to be using a little bit wonkier chord shapes than you typically will run across because it sounds different, and they want to have a sound that's unique to them. And then they will be combining multiple finger picking, single finger picking, strumming, and trying to make as many variations and as much texture into that music as possible. And so just by studying these etudes, you get a chance to do that same exact thing. Then when you get to your real music, you're thinking, well, I want to pluck this part and I want to strum that part and all this. And just know that you as the artist get to make those decisions, and always trying to just pump a little bit of extra life into your arrangements and into your performance. Sounds nice even when I blow it. Brandon has arrived. All right, I screwed it up. Sounds great. Moving on, right? I screw up a lot. You guys have heard me play. I screw up a lot. I lose 0 hours of sleep over me screwing up, because that's how I played it at that moment. If I want to play perfectly, and I absolutely can, we're talking lots and lots of hours to get something put together. And we kind of have a different approach on our day-to-day weekly assignments, right? I'm throwing 4 songs at you every single week. That's a stupid amount of music. Okay. You picking one song and just really dialing into it and really making it your own. I don't know if Kay is here today, but Kay, a few years back, I was giving her a hassle. She couldn't play a song without looking at it on the paper. So she memorized Home on the Range. And you know what? Ever since then, I guarantee you, every time she teaches one of her little classes, she has kind of decent sized program starting to grow up in the Longmont area. I bet you anything that she's playing that song for them. There she is. I'll bet you anything she's taking the time to play that song, right? Because she dug in, she really made it her own. She probably plays it a little bit differently than the paper says, perfectly fine, but turning it into something that she owns. And that's not an overnight process, right? When I give you guys a hassle, I say you should at least learn My Spaghetti Monster. Even that's going to take you all night to get that thing under your belt. Whereas we often will play a song through twice and turn the page. And I know we got a ton of musicians who've been, classically trained, and you talk to any last one of them and they said, all right, how long did, your old piano teacher, how long did she make you work on a piece? It is very common that it's months, sometimes half a year. When you are, I believe, and I'm probably talking about something I don't know about, but I believe when you go into academic music, they give you, 3 or 4 songs. You got it for the whole year. It's not uncommon. And so when you see people really dialing in, they get that higher level of perfection. And some of us are willing to work toward that, and some of us are not. Also, it's very clear some songs are worth it and some songs are not worth it. I would not try to get key of G major arpeggio to perfection, but you could, work on some, let's do all I ask of you and get that one to perfection. Cat, plucking to chords is hard. Plucking to chords is hard for me too, especially keeping in time. For me, it's hard to go from plucking 3 strings and then 4 strings and back and forth. So again, when we are talking, and Kat's question or comment here is actually super important. When you find that you're falling out of time, which I often do when I'm playing the songs that we do each week, is because you've hit this section where it's kind of hard, it's complicated to get your fingers on. We have a tendency to sort of slow the tempo down to get us in there. If we're getting ready to play in performance, we got to get rid of that variation in tempo. We have to get where we can get to the hard parts just as quickly as the easy parts. We have a perfect song for that today, where we're way up the neck and then we got to jump way down the neck in an eighth note. Okay. And so we have to, those things are easy to talk about. They're very challenging to do. And so just continue to know, hey, this is a place where in this song where I'm going to struggle getting from one particular stripe of plucking or strumming or whatever pattern I'm doing, and then get to the next chord and get a different shape on. Know that that's coming up. And if you're getting ready for performance, you either have to fix that section where you can do it in time, or, and this is actually not a bad idea, guys, you could play the song slower. Problem solved, right? If you play the whole song slower, then that one section that's going to cause you a mess gets a little easier. I tell first day in class we do Frere Jacques, right? And I don't do da 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 dum dum. I do dum 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 dumb. I do it half the speed, and then I tell people at home, you guys, or your job is to get up that those two measures, the fast measures, up to speed. And I say, now don't tell anybody I told you this, but music is all relative. So if you're trying to get this one section twice as fast, doesn't it make sense to play all the other sections half as slow, and then you're fine, right? So slow down when you find yourself really struggling with getting from one particular tempo to another. When you get into more complicated stuff and you're falling apart, it's probably because you're playing too fast. Almost always, not always. Sometimes you're just doing a bad job. All right. Wanted to make one brief thing since Fran made it in today. Fran took yesterday. I don't know where she was yesterday. I on Monday night I kind of joke about standard notation. And I don't want you to think that I don't think it's important. I want you to know that there's a reason why when you get your sheet music from me, 100% of it, well, 99% of it, I have one thing I hand out that doesn't have it on there. 99% of everything I hand out has standard notation on it because it's important and it works and it's really helpful. And you can absolutely what are we playing? All of me? Not all of me. What are we playing? All I ask of you. It's something all. I know that. All I ask of you. Where is it? All I ask of you. The reason I put standard notation on everything is because it tells you how long to hold the notes, and that's exactly the weakness in tablature. It doesn't tell you how long to hold the notes. Now, typically, you're not going to play a song you don't already know, unless you're here in class and you're like, I don't know, I never heard All I Ask of You. Then you got to look. Then, if you don't know how it goes, you got to use your resources. One resource is to go listen to the MP3. I think you're crazy if you're not listening to those MP3s. That's such an easy, helpful way for you to get to know what the song is supposed to sound like. I made those from day one on purpose because it's brilliant. You can stare at the sheet music, hit play on the computer, and watch everything that's going on, where you can really get a sense of what's going on in the music. If you're not using those MP3s, why not, man? Those are such a helpful resource. And then the second way of doing it, of course, is old school. I'm going to read the notes up there. And as all of you remember from first grade, every good boy does fine, and FACE. That's your scale up there in those standard notation notes. That's not helpful to us as ukulele players. It's not a helpful thing. But the eighth notes, dotted eighth notes, 16th notes, quarter note, that very measure 3 of your song this morning has eighth notes, dotted eighth notes, 16th note, quarter note. It's got 4 different kinds of notes there in that one section, and you can use that to tell you how long to hold 3 1 3 0 0 0 0, right? And so it gives you that sense. It gives you that sense of how long to hold those notes. So that's why I make sure every piece of sheet music has the standard notation on there to help you, if you know how to read it, to tell you how long to listen or how long to hold each note. Those of you who are working on, hey, I'm going to learn to read standard notation on the ukulele, that's just a matter of memorizing an A. The A is right here, and the G is right here, and the D is right here. That's all you have to do with that. It's different than piano, guys, right? Because you have multiple copies of the same note. This A shows up right here as well. Okay, and it feels very different than this A, but it is the same note. It just has a different timbre to it, and that's what's kind of fun about fretted instruments over the piano, is that the timbre is relatively consistent all the way up and down on a piano, but on a fretted instrument, especially a small one like this, you're going to get quite different feelings from different notes the same note further up the fretboard. So I don't not think standard notation is important. Is that the right way to say that? I think it's important. That's why it's on all of the pieces of music I have. My point was you don't have to be able to read it in order to play ukulele. Some of you have backgrounds in that. It's important. It's a good skill for you. And for those of you who really want to do it, yeah, heck yeah, take your time to do that. But for the rest of you that I don't even know what he's talking about. You don't need to worry about it. Tablature is going to take care of you because you already know how the song's going to go before you ever tackle it. Unless you get it from me, and I'm going to say give you a bunch of stuff from 1892, and you probably don't know those tunes. And Q is asking, hey, where are those MP3s? So you go to the website on a computer. Here's the website right up over here on the upper. No, it's not really upper. It's sort of straight across on the column over on the right-hand side of the website. It says all the songs. And then there's a list of MP3s. You can go through, find the song you're working on, click on it, hit play. Da, 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 da. If you're like, yep, that's the song I'm working on, everything's cool, and you can actually download that into your computer so you don't have to come back to the website. And you want to make your life interesting, try playing along to it at those speeds. You'll find out that those MP3s are pretty fast. I tend to set them pretty fast to give you to give those of you who are working who want or like, hey, I want this piece of music at full speed. I want it to be relatively quick and sort of jaunty and get you through it. But you can download them into your phone and use. I've got some suggestions for tempo slowing apps underneath that widget, and you can put it on your phone and slow it the pace down and then try playing along with it. Then you're playing along with the metronome. It's the same thing as playing along with me. The difference is my tempo will adjust as my playing ability adjusts, and with the MP3 it won't. You're just going to be playing right straight through. Most professionals, I think, when they're finally ready to put a piece of music on stage and when they're ready to finish it up, are going to double check their tempo against a metronome or against the MP3, and they're going to try to get it as clean and as consistent as possible. I think. I'm not obviously a performing professional, but I do know that they're going to be playing with the band or they're going to be playing with a backing track in some cases, and they've got to be able to do that. And so that's what those MP3s are really helpful for. So Q, they're right over on the website and they're up here. If you're on your phone, those widgets end up down at the bottom, so you can just scroll down there and hit them, and they're on there. And you can download all of them. They're all there. You never change speed unless we gallop away from you. Well, Kari's talking about orchestra. I actually do have a metronome sitting up there. I used to not use a metronome because I thought, that's for the weak. But then I figured out that I have a tendency when the music's exciting to conduct a little faster, and when the music is slow, I tend to slow it down a little bit. And we have a member, Anita, who is like has an internal clock that is 100% reliable, and she's like, "You're all over the place with tempo." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then I put a metronome up there, and sure enough, I'm all over the place. So I do conduct from a metronome, and sometimes it turns out people don't listen to the conductor, and then they go speeding off ahead of me. And they're not supposed to do that, but what are you going to do? They're excited. All right, all I ask of you, let's walk through some of the stuff that's going to happen. First of all, extremely repetitive in nature. Once you learn a little bit of it, you've learned the whole thing. The more complicated problem is that, as in all modern music, they're telling a story, so they're more interested in the story than having everything line up neat and nice and pretty. In the 1800s, songs always lined up neat and nice and pretty. You had changed the story to fit the number of notes you had. These days, people do the opposite of that, which is a good thing. They will write all the lyrics out and then make the notes match up good enough, right? And so you're going to have these places where that feels very, very repetitive, but it's just enough different to create some stuff you got to pay attention to. All right. We only have one repeat. It's from 3 to 6, and then we'll go back and repeat that. That's the only section where the syllables lined up perfectly, and other than that, everything else gets adjusted as you go along. So let's learn first the intro. You're going to hold your F chord, and going to pluck it in 6, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but we're going to play it until we've gone through 2 complete measures, and then it winds up perfectly on this note prior to jumping into the song. You don't want to go fast. I said a quarter note equals 80. I think you'd be fine playing it at 60. Honestly, it's one of these songs where you just don't want to rush it at all. Grab your F chord. We're going to do thumb, index, middle, ring, middle, index. And we're going to do that 2.5 times. Okay, so just do that. Ready? Play. Da, dun, 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 dun. Again. Dun, 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 dun. That's it. That's how the intro is. It's something very simple. Okay, but it's gonna just create this beautiful mood that's gonna drop us into the next idea. Okay, let's do just the first 2 measures again. Ready, play. Okay, now initially when I wrote this out, I put a fermato over that 0, and it sounded ridiculous. But I do think there's a little bit of a hesitation there. I don't think a full fermata is there, but you're gonna, and then you're gonna go and grab. You're still gonna have your F chord on, so I'm thinking just grab your pinky there to get 203. Okay, and that allows your index finger to stay right where it is. Maybe use your ring finger there, whichever one is easiest. Okay, hey Alan. So let's go ahead and grab that 203 at measure 3 and play that. And then lift it up the 3 to get 1, 3, oh, and then you got a full F chord. Okay, let me stop. I'm just realizing a couple of things I didn't really go over. If you are playing the straight melody line, just play. Just use your thumb, right? You don't need to do anything. You don't need to do this. Okay, your thumb's going to be very reliable. The song is slow. It takes 3.5 minutes, I think, if I remember right, or at least 3 minutes to play this whole song, and that's at full tempo. You'll probably be playing it for 4 or 5 minutes. Just use your thumb. There's nowhere where it's going to be a major problem using your thumb in the melody playing. If you are singing and strumming, I can assure you, when you take Phantom of the Opera and some of the great singers in modern Broadway history and have them sing it and then give it to me, you can be assured I'm not going to try. So if you're a decent singer, and I know a bunch of you guys are, no more dark of darkness, and it goes on. And as you know, in the song itself, it's a conversation between the Phantom and the girl. I don't remember her name. And he's going to protect her, which is weird that you would have a scary guy wearing a mask in the basement of a theater telling you he's going to protect you. I think that's a time that you should probably leave the theater. But why was I talking about that? I'm not singing for you, okay? And if you don't know the tune, immediately upon exiting this lesson today, you go directly to YouTube and you type in "All I Ask of You," and it'll come up with the little extension "Phantom of the Opera," and you click on "Yes, I need to hear that song." This is a brilliant song. It's in every wedding these days, and so that's what you're working on. Okay, you got a really nice song in your hand. If you don't know it, get to know it. It's definitely worth it. All right, so let's play measure 1 again, or measure 3 again. Okay, you got your F chord on. Ready? Play. Same thing again. The only difference is you got your pinky on that F chord there on the bottom. Okay, I've been sliding my pinky up to get the 5 and then getting rid of it. And then 3-1-0. And now you're going to go to, here's the thing, guys. I did everything I could to get the B flats to the minimum amount of work. So you've got your B flat, right? But you don't really need to make the bar at all. Just do 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then your pinky's going to have to be on 3. So it's not as hard as a regular B flat, but it is not necessarily easy. So think of it as your E minor, move it back a fret, move everybody up a string. Okay, that's the B flat you're working on, but then you're just going to add your pinky to get the melody note. Okay, so let's play that. And then the 0. E flat is another key chord that's going to come up a lot in your life. It's just lovely on ukulele, so do that one. Roll it down to get the 3. 1, 0. Nice C chord here. That's That's it. Okay, and that there's a kind of a chorus that happens in here as well, but this exact fingering pattern is going to come up over and over again. So let's play 3 through 6 as if it's the second time through. Grab your F chord, measure 3, ready, play. Beautiful, right? Lovely melody. Chords are working pretty nice on that. Okay. Now, these 10 sections come up a whole bunch of times in this song. So let's go to measure 7. Let's talk about how I'm surviving it, and then we'll talk about what you should probably be thinking. I am putting a bar on 5 and my pinky on 10. Okay, that's what I wrote. That's what I think that you should do. If you are not doing the tough uke line, it's going to be 100% fine just to play those 10s. And of course, if you're singing, you got your chords, you're fine. But I think I can do this. I was working on a tenor at home. I didn't have a terrible time reaching it. This concert is actually fairly easy, but you're thinking about bar on 5, pinky on 10. Okay, and I wrote as. And that's what I wrote. But I'm also finding if you strum that the whole thing on the third 10 as well, it sounds kind of cool. That sounds pretty nice. Now, here's one of those places where we talked earlier about switching from one thing to another can be challenging. Even if you're doing this beautiful down strum to get the most out of your ukulele, now you got to go from this F shape all the way down here to D minor. And you're going to hit 3 strings, open, and then hit the 3 for the melody. That's a lot of work, okay? So what I would be working on at home is, all right, when I see those 10s coming, I'm going to look down and make sure I got my shape on correctly, and then I'm going to know I got to get down to that D minor right away. So let's play just measure 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we're after. Hey, Arlo. That's the goal. Okay. And initially, to slow it down however slow you need to do it. Okay. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's stunning. Getting it in time is going to be a challenge. Okay. Next thing you need to do, and measure 8. Once you hit that 3, you're going to do that E minor shape on 5. Okay, E minor shape on 5, 6, 7. It sounds super cool. Okay, leave this open and actually play that top string. It's a lovely G minor 7th, and then lift up these 2 fingers to get the 5 again, and then strum the whole thing for the C chord. It's just gorgeous. Okay. Measure 9, you're going to put on your regular old F chord, bar on 5, pinky on 8. Dum, go to the 7, dum, and then your ring finger's coming up here to play this D minor. Remember earlier this week we had a fight over this D minor. Bar here, 7 on top. And then I went ahead, if you're playing the melody, just play 3, 1, 0. Okay? If your tough uke is coming together pretty well, you want to put your pinky on 8, 8, and then play the 3rd string 5, and then the 2nd string 5. So you've got to move your pinky. If that's too hard, just go up and play the melody, right? D minor. Might sound a little cleaner. The problem with it is you're yanking off your bar to go get those melody notes, and it'll be noticeable, okay? So your smoothest, prettiest choice would be what I wrote at measure 9. And let's try just playing all of measure 9. Ready, play. That's going to probably sound the prettiest, but it also is by far the hardest way to play that. Okay, and then let's go measure 10. It's 3, 0, and then you have This G minor seventh shows up throughout the whole piece, and it never one time are you going to play a G minor seventh. You're always going to be modifying it in some way. And so this way it comes up a lot. You're going to play what looks like a G7, but your pinky's on 3. Okay? Okay, so that's it. I'd like to play from 7 through 10 now. Let's see if we can get it to sound good. How are we doing on time? We're okay. I always say, we're okay, no matter what the sign, whatever time it is. We're like, okay, I'm fine. I'm usually not fine. All right, from measure 7, 1, 2, don't go fast. Isn't that pretty? Okay, nice. Page 2. Whew. Here's what's exciting. You pretty much know the whole song at this point. There's nothing that's going to come up that's different. What is going to come up is variations and slight adjustments and modifications. Tough Ukers, you guys already know about slight modifications to things, and this is the poster child of that song. It's going to feel like you're playing the same thing over and over and over, but every single time they go back to that chorus, they change it up just enough to mess you up. Okay, so let's play. Let's go from 11. We'll take our time and let's go until I find something interesting to talk about. Okay, so from measure 11, grab your 5, put your pinky on 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Say you need me with you, one and always. This is a 16th note, guys, so as fast as you can. Promise me that same B flat with your pinky on 3. All you say is true. 1 is a pretty note. F chord. And then this is your G minor shape with the bottom open. All I ask of you, F chord. Another pretty note here. Now we're going to start the whole idea again. Let me be your shelter. Let me be your light. You're safe. Yeah, sure you're safe. 310. G7 with your 3. 3, another 3. O, E flat. Pinky. O. C chord here. 3. You measure 20 now. Go back to your F chord. Put your pinky on. I want is freedom. A world with no more. Pinky. 310. Whoops. G7 with your 3 up front. E flat. 310. C chord. Then, okay, and that's a great moment. Then, right? So at the end of page 2, you get this nice transition. Onto page 3. Again, I'm not going to see too much more new stuff here, but getting it right is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, go back to your 5 and your 10. Here we go. Say you'll share with me one love, one lifetime. F chord. Let me, D minor 7th. Lead you to your, and then again 16th notes. It's pretty fast. Solitude. So probably put your just ring finger on there. Solitude. 2, and then drop that little shape back in. It's going to keep coming up. You're going to have to learn how to handle it. 2, 1. Measure. What are we on? I can't see. 28. Same thing. Anywhere. B flat with a 3. And then that place, it actually goes the opposite direction of everywhere else, and it sounds so cool, but it's just different. 010. And then measure 32, back to that crazy G minor shape. Open up the bottom, G7 feeling. 3, 0, 3, F chord. 0, 1, 0. Now we're going to do more of the same. Bar on 10, or bar on 5, pinky on 10. F shape. Again, pay attention to when those 16th notes showed up. I just played it way too slow. Follow you, dun dun dun. Okay, back to 38. Okay, and then we make it onto page 4. If I a little foot thing, you're almost done. We almost got this. Okay, page 5. Go down and grab your 3, and then put your B flat on while you're playing that 3. And then this is a triplet. Dun dun dun. I know you do. Because if I remember right in the play, he's singing blah blah blah, and I think it's her that says, "I know you do." It doesn't make any sense when you read the lyrics unless you know there's a dialogue going on, and I'm pretty sure the female lead goes, I know you do. 0, 1, 0. Finally, you get the normal G7. 3, I ask of F chord, you. 0, 1, 0. And then quickly here. B flat with your pinky on 3. And then another G minor 7. And a weird G7 with a 3 shape. Pinky. And then take your time on this. So, while it's 4 pages and it's a lot, basically by the time you've survived page 1, you have survived everything that's going to show up in the piece of music. So really dig into page 1, get page 1 really solid, and then you're just looking at minor variations for the next 3 pages, going over and over and over again. I think that's what I know to tell you about that. Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman. Okay, that's who. All right, there you go. Michael Crawford is busy trying to convince her that living in the basement of a theater with a mask on is a lovely and protective and very good way to be, and she's buying it. Right? If you've seen the show, you got to suspend your disbelief just a tiny bit. Music is beautiful in it, honestly, one of the best things ever. That B flat is beautiful. What would it be called with the C added? B flat suspended second. B flat suspended second, probably. Sometimes suspended seconds are also called ninth chords, so B flat 9. Probably because it's the high note, we would probably tend to call it a B flat 9. I would say, Joyce. I think that's probably about right. And again, when you get, this is one of those things that can become one of these. very common to sit down and when you're figuring out chords and you're like, all right, I got this super crazy fancy chord. Um, what is it that I'm playing? And a lot of times you can turn yourself into a crazy person trying to figure it out. And you'll see that especially in jazz music where they got B flat, sharp 7, flat 9, 11th, right? And there's all this crap after it, all this stuff after it. And um, I think as ukulele players, you're probably chasing your tail on that. I would say, yeah, the B flat, C. All right, that's that next note in that. Um, that's the next note, right? So it's either a 2 or sometimes it's all the way over here on 9. And either of those is probably a correct way to think of it. I would probably tend to call it B flat 9 just because the C is on top. And so that's probably what we're looking at. It does it hurts your noggin after a while. Spend a little less time worried about what things are called and spend a little bit more time trying to figure out how you're going to successfully accomplish it. I think is the right way to approach that. That's my approach. I don't know if it's right. Um, I don't get real overcooked and trying to name what sounds are. All right, let's see. A couple other questions. A 2 or a 9? I would, Kari, since it's on the top, I'd go with 9. I think that's probably the way. Great arrangement. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, honestly. When the song is that nice, you don't mind spending a little bit of time on. I arranged Hotel California a couple weeks ago. I don't like that song. I don't like any of the chords. I don't like anything about it, and it destroyed my life. This one was a complete joy. Spent the last couple of days just putting it together. Just absolutely, I'll do that all day long. Let's see. Martin had a great time. So, all right, Mike, killing it. Fran, I had an errand yesterday, but listened to the lesson. Okay, Fran, you're off the hook. All right, I believe you. All right, good job, Fran. Renee, beautiful. I don't mind playing 4 pages at all. Yeah, the only reason 4 pages I'm aware of it is that all of us are dealing with this, right? This page turn. And so I really try, in the perfect world, all songs would fit on 2 pages, but it just isn't that world. And so sometimes, especially with modern songs where they change it and change it and change it, it's just easier to add pages. And then, of course, you're in that situation where you have to turn pages. Not such a big deal here when we're on private solo studies. It's not such a big deal. When you get in a group of players and you go to your strum line, you're like, we're all going to play this song, and it's 3 pages long. They know at some point they're going to have to turn that, and it's just one of those things. It's just a tiny bit of a bummer, but it is what it is, right? And so it's 4 pages long. Started off as 6. I managed to figure out how to get it down. So you got 4 pages, and it is pretty, right? And I think I double checked the lyrics against the original, and I think it's note for note. I don't think there's anything in the original that's not there. So hopefully it'll play well for you. Joyce, so true. Our brains make it needs to be. Yeah, Joyce is with me. All right, Joyce and I. As long as Joyce doesn't say no, Gary, that's the opposite of what you said. I feel like we're okay. Love it. Thanks, Lindy. Renee, a nice piece to memorize. By the way. I made this joke before. As a ukulele player, you're going to be maybe once in a while play a funeral and maybe once in a while play a wedding. If you have the choice, play the funeral over the wedding. But this is a wedding song. I mean, if you read the words, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to put that in my wedding too. So it's a nice one to have in case you ever get played and asked to play somebody's wedding. And you very might well, you get playing well. Somebody's going to say, hey, come play my wedding. It happens to me on a regular basis. Hey, I'm getting old enough where everybody I know is married, but back when I was younger, we had a lot of people ask me to play their weddings, which is a real honor. And this is one of those songs that comes up, Fran's so glad she's up there. Lindy, my little chord finger says B flat, add 9. Sure, let's do it, Lindy. B flat, add 9. Let's call it that. The song is beautiful. It's a beautiful song. Go listen to it on YouTube. Just go remind yourself. It's absolutely beautiful. And reaching the 5 and 10, right? Your pinky's going to be busy, as always. You bet, Elizabeth. And the jumping flea arpeggio. You're welcome for that. I give that to the world. I'm hoping after I'm dead 300 years, they're still looking at that jumping flea arpeggio. That's my goal. Okay. All right, guys. Enough of that. Have a wonderful day. Subscribe. Thumbs up if you want, and membership on Jolly Roger Ukulele. Guys, in the Disney section, not this week, or probably over the weekend, I'm going to be adding in, where did I put it? It's here somewhere. Um, Remember Me from Coco. Cool song. So you're going to want it. Members only, right? All right, there you go. Have a wonderful day, you guys. I'll say goodbye to you as you're exiting the room. Lanny, you keep feeding more songs that have to go on the keep list. There's the keep list, and then there's the list, right? And every song I have is in the list, but hopefully we're giving you guys some. And again, if there's a song you've always wanted to do, I will be writing new stuff from time to time, and not just cleaning up stuff I've done in the past. And so, if there's a song that you've always wanted to have, and you always wanted to do it, let me know so I can put it on into the chain of events. Um, I'm going to be doing a lot of Disney. We're going to be doing a lot of Beatles. So those two things probably got covered. But there's other weird stuff. Like I know for sure I'm going to be doing some John Denver. I've never, other than Annie's song, I've never written out any of the John Denver stuff. So I know we're going to be doing that. So don't be shy about tossing me an email. It won't happen tomorrow, but it'll happen. I eventually get around to all the good songs. And I've got some Neil Diamond that I'm going to be working on. So just let me know what's on your want to keep list, and let's see if I might actually only have it arranged. So call me, or don't call me. Send me an email. I do read the emails. I don't necessarily always get back to you on them. Beautiful song. You're welcome, Phyllis. Glad you're here. Patty and Tom, have a great day. Brandon, see you tomorrow. Kari, yay, Kari. What's it called? B flat with a C. I don't know, Kari. All right, Lynn. Have a great day. Fran, love Remember Me. It's a gorgeous tune. Kat, such fun. Good to see you, Kat. Have a great day. Valerie, you too. Jacqueline, thanks for being here every day. Valerie, Beethoven, damn it, Beethoven. Yeah, I'll get you more Beethoven. I agree. Beethoven's my guy. Shakespeare and Beethoven. That's the two. They're top of the list right there. Those are the two best guys. Okay, and so yeah, I'll get you more Beethoven. I'll get you more Beethoven, Valerie. Let's see. Mike, gonna be happy. Mike sees gonna be happy. Yay! Mike loves that song. That's nice. Wonderful. Okay, John Denver. Yeah, no. It's all that and care about the earth business. Remember that? Remember we used to care about the earth, and then we had all this other stuff happen. All right, Q. I'll get you your John Denver, guys. Don't fret. Some old country tunes like Patsy Cline, Willie Nelson would be fun. I've got so many country and cowboy books here. I could just do those all day long. They always are super cooperative on ukulele. Those guys know how to write music in a way that makes sense for musicians. And so, Brandon, I can tell you, we will have more cowboy stuff coming. So yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about that. Joyce, see you tomorrow, Joyce. Thanks for rocking with me. And Lynn, that Cat Stevens, right? I've got him on the list too. He's remastering some of his songs. It's kind of exciting. He still sings as good as when he was 20. So, yeah, he's working on that. I saw. So, all right, kids, I'm going to cut the stream. You have a wonderful day. Thanks for everything.